Welcome to another episode of the Love and Reality Podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, I am going to be breaking down episode 2 of Temptation Island Season 5. Last week, we just got our feet wet, right? You know what I mean? We got a little introduction to the couples, a little bit of an introduction to the singles, and now it's time to mix and mingle and really kind of get our feet wet of the idea of who is going to take those risks and who's going to, I guess, behave as we start to see the couples go out on dates and start to communicate, and the living arrangements are really strong. You have all of the couples on the women's side of things, living with the single guys, and then of course the guys living with the single girls, what that's going to look like, who's going to cross lines, who's not going to cross lines. It's going to be definitely interesting. And the episode really kicks off with us, hearing Mark talk to the couples and talk about how that first interaction was. I'll kind of skip over a lot of it, a lot of mumbo jumbo. You saw what happened if you're listening to this. Just a lot of back and forth leading to the point where these guys and girls are saying goodbye for the last time until this experiment is over, until the series is over. They will see their significant others, but they cannot communicate any further outside of some slide remarks we hear here in a little bit. But as they say goodbye, the couples quickly forget about the ladies as the single women walk in, and Hall says, "Y'all are too beautiful. I can't handle this." Some funny back and forth early on between the singles and the couples, talking about what it was like saying those goodbyes to your couples and stuff like that. We have a couple women of the singles trying to get their teeth latched into some of these men. But some of the funnier moments early on is obviously the house rules that were laid out by Vanessa. Vanessa, we all know, is the older woman of the group. She talks about the Roberto's immaturity. She has that controlling kind of aspect, and maybe it's not controlling, maybe it's just how she wants things, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it was funny how everybody's sitting at the table and we're talking about living arrangements, and Vanessa goes off. This is funny. These are Vanessa's house rules. Don't sit on the bed with your clothes off. Don't leave the towels laying around. Replace the toilet paper. No excessive amounts of time in the bathroom. Do not eat chips in her bed. When you use the bathroom after going number 2, close the door. Let it kind of, air itself there. And then knock on doors before you come in. Like, she laid down the law, right? Laid it down. And when everybody was like, it was just funny. Just like everybody's reaction to her doing this. Obviously, it's stuff that's, some of that stuff is like common knowledge maybe, but obviously when you're living with a bunch of single men, is it, type of thing, like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. You're talking about living with 8 other single men while living with, 3 other women at the same time, you know what I mean? So you don't really know these men. And of course you want to lay down those ground rules, but how she does it is very like, I demand, you know what I mean? And then of course, when Vanessa asked the rest of the crowd, the rest of the people, what they want as those house rules, everybody else is really quiet. So it's just a funny dynamic, funny moment to kind of happen, which leads us to this moment that we've all been waiting for. They have time. Time has come. We are picking the dates, right? Not only are they picking the dates, you have to pick who you're going to go out on a date with in front of your significant other, right? You hear me out. You are, as one of the members of the couple, are picking somebody to go on a date with your significant other, watching that transpire. Insane, right? Very much insane. So here is who picked who. Caitlin picked Mike. Hall picked Michaela, which obviously shocked nobody. Maricela picks Griffin. Christopher picked Alexis. Paris picks Christian. Great picks Nafasia. There we go. Vanessa picked Bryce, and Roberto picked Majori. Let's see here. Here are some of the reactions that we got through the time of people picking. Roberto says, Vanessa, if she's not treated like a queen or princess, she will let you know. Thanks, Roberto. Christopher says Maricela doesn't seem interested in any of them, and he isn't worried about Griffin. Way to go, Christopher. I mean, he's not worried about his girl doing whatever she's not going to do. You can't worry about it, right? Great says that it was hard to see seeing Paris pick someone in front of her and that she wants a reaction out of him, and he's not going to give it to her. Vanessa is shocked by Roberto's pick of Major, and it rubbed her the wrong way. Roberto said, Vanessa, this was funny. Like, I just don't understand like how this quickly escalated. Roberto looked over at Vanessa and said, that's a handsome king talking about Bryce. And she said, I know, I will treat him that way too. And their reaction was like a mic drop, folks. It was like a mic drop because it blew me away. Like, I don't understand why he felt the need to say that, but like her quick-witted response was perfect, right? Moving right along. It was Maricela says that he needs to prove himself, not to her, but to himself. He has to prove himself to himself, you know what I mean? To be that person, to be the bigger person so that Christopher can stay faithful to their relationship. It's Hall's turn. And look, I love Hall. Okay. This guy is comedy gold. And that's the reason why I love him. Nothing more, nothing less. He continuously says stupid things to stick his foot in his mouth. And this was no different. It was Hall's turn. He says, does he have to? Do I have to pick somebody? And of course, your first reaction is like, oh, I mean, he's probably going to say, does he have to pick somebody? He doesn't want to pick somebody. His significant other, Caitlyn's in there. What is she going to do? Like, I don't want to hurt her feelings. No. Hall says, does he have to pick somebody? Because he wants to pick them all. Now, even Caitlyn said she was surprised by what he said, because he said, that's not where I thought he was going to go with that. None of us thought that he would be maybe dumb enough to really state that, but I digress, right? I digress. It is what it is. It was funny. It was hilarious. It was just a funny moment. Nobody's surprised. Caitlyn was surprised that Hall picked Michaela, even though all of us know that they've grown closely relatively fast. Didn't pick who she thought he would, and followed by saying she was getting nervous. We've seen those two together. I would be very, very nervous, Caitlyn. Paris says, great, picked an ugly ass girl. And then she changed it to somebody who had an ugly personality. She said in her talks with Nafisa that she didn't mention being attracted to Great, and she could have, quote unquote, declined. That's not how this works, okay? Do you think that this girl is going to talk to you about your man right to your face and say, yeah, I'm very smitten by him, and open that door and open Pandora's box for you to go to her man while you're in the midst of this mixing and mingling thing? No, they're not going to do that. They're not going to give you their intentions. Their intentions are there to find love, to potentially poach your man to be with them. That's how this works. Like, you know this. You going on the show. This is not the first season of Temptation Island. We've all been down this road together. Come on. Use your head. Vanessa speaks up and saying that it pissed her off that the most stank attitude in the group. Major said, you know what they say. If they don't have any haters, it ain't popping. I didn't know that's what they said. But now that I know that, if you don't got any haters, it ain't popping. I mean, I don't make the rules. Look, if you ain't got no haters, it ain't popping. So haters are gonna hate. You know what I mean? Paris speaks up saying Great changed the game because he didn't pick Tahaji, which, was a little bit of a surprise to everything. The dates are happening tomorrow. Everyone is going to party until then. So back to our respective corners we go. Great says he feels like Paris just says stuff to make him mad and wants to forget about what she said. Hall brings up, our comedy relief is here, brings up that the rain is stopping and the pool is outside and he will be A-okay. All right. Abby approaches Christopher and asks why he didn't pick her because they were vibing. However, he mentions that he has a fear of what she brings to the table. Christopher, you're getting in trouble again. Christopher talks to the camera saying he has got to let go of that fear that Abby is into him. Said that there is a mutual sexual attraction. And she said she's going to put him in detention. Wink, wink. All right, Vanessa pulls Bryce aside, saying that she isn't always like that and outbursts aren't always part of her game. I call bullshit. And Bryce comforting her, saying he understood. The guys' villa is popping off as we have a tiki freaky night. Things are about to get spicy at the guys' villa. The girls are taking shots off each other. Now the singles are starting to dance for the girls, and Tammy gives Great a lap dance. Like, that's a mouthful. Like, this guy's name Great. Tammy gives Great a lap dance. Like, it could be Tammy gives Great a great lap dance, but there's too many greats going on in that sentence. Michaela puts it on the ground, literally, for Hall. He says he needs to get out of there. Hall is going to get himself in a lot of trouble. Abby starts to dance on Christopher. He says, what if Maricela sees this? And he says he's trying to respect his girlfriend, but Christopher says he has to think about himself. Christopher, my man, that is not what finding yourself on this trip is finding yourself in bed with another woman. That's not what finding yourself is, but I digress as well. Abby and Alexis are sitting with Christopher together talking to the camera. This is getting wild. Tammy is all over Great, and Nafisa is pissed after he asked her on the date. Tia is ramping up the action on Roberto, saying she wants to do dirty, dirty things to him because she can't. Nafisa confronts Great, and he didn't like that and said it was day one. Now, I agree with that. Nafisa does really confront Great and, like, wondering why, hey, you asked me on this date, but then whenever we get back from asking me on this date, you start dancing with other people. Look, first off, this guy is, like, dating somebody else, and he's there to, you know, find out if this is the person he wants to spend the rest of his life with. Maybe he finds somebody new to spend the rest of his life with. This is day one of mix and mingling. Like, calm down with the clinginess. You know what I mean? Like, I understand he picked you to be on a date. Maybe you should have been all up in that bubble too. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. You know what I mean? It's drinks or dare at the girls' villa. Bryce pulled up how many bodies he said, and he said 93. For those of you at home that aren't sure how many bodies he is at and aren't sure what that definition is, that means how many women, I'm assuming it's just women, but the door's open. How many women has the man slept with? And he said 93. Vanessa said she viewed him as a wholesome gentleman, and she said, I misjudged you. And she was floored by that. Sebastian gets to do a body shot and picks Vanessa. She stands up and says, you can do a shot between her butt cheeks, and done. It does. It happens. What a interesting moment that was, because really Sebastian did a body shot and got the shot all in his eyes. Wait a minute. I just realized what I said. We're moving right along, folks. All right. Everybody's freaking out about what happened. Sebastian's eyes are burning. Maricela is talking with Michael, who is ready to pounce the moment Christopher slips up. She says, and I quote, I will be loyal until he proves otherwise. Well, folks, I don't think she's going to be very loyal very long. She's not going to worry about it. Now, on this week's episode wraps up with us following not one, not two, but 3 dates. We didn't get to wrap up in all 3 of the dates, but Caitlin picked Mike. Obviously, Caitlin said she didn't know she could open up so naturally to somebody. She said that her and Hall are more of partners, and the romance has been kind of gone. She spilled the beans on everything, but she did say she missed Hall. Now, definitely mixed signals here she gave to Mike, but Mike really is kind of lurking around. It's crazy to me. And you know what? Let me stop right here. It's crazy to me to watch these people just, I can't believe I opened up to somebody so fast. Look, if you're that willing to just lay it on the line to some random stranger, maybe you are with the wrong person. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you are. Because if you're that willing to spill every single aspect of your entire life to one person after on one date, like, what does that really say about your relationship? You really are talking to a stranger about your relationship, criticizing what you are going through in that relationship and criticizing that partner, while also Mike is hearing these things and ready to be like, I can be the man you want. It reminds me of Matt Rife's bit that he did in his most recent special. It's like 100%. Like, you know what I mean? Like your friend here is listening to everything that you say bad about your significant other, in which he's going to promise he's going to be the opposite of everything that significant other is being towards you. It's a lose-lose situation here. Hall picked Michaela. These two hit it off continuously and talk about what they want out of life, including kids. Michaela says she's intrigued by Hall. Hall says it's scary how great the date was, and he is 35-year-old confused dude. Look, I'm confused for you, Hall. I don't know what to tell you, dude, but you are hilarious, and I love you, and I want nothing but the best. And I hope you get whatever you want out of this, because you're my favorite part of this entire show. He said that it was easy and said she is beautiful, and by easy, he meant it's easy to communicate with her and talk to her. Again, Hall, I suggest that you listen to what I said about Caitlin, about talking to Mike and just spewing all of these things out to somebody. Maybe you need to think for a second and be like, if I can spill the beans and talk about my life and talk about my future so easily with somebody else, that maybe, just maybe, Caitlin is not the person for me. All right. Our last date was very weird. Christopher picked Alexis, which was quite the stir, I guess you could say, with Maricela. Maricela wasn't exactly a fan of his pick whenever he did it. So it was definitely interesting to see that this date was a dud. She said she's never been snorkeling. That conversation happened, leading to Alexis saying there's no spark, like none between the two. They start to talk about maybe he needs to find someone who matches his energy, and she brings up Desiree. He talks about Desiree, talks about maybe wanting to interact more with Desiree. I've never seen, like, why did he pick her? Like, what did that do for you? Like, you wasted time on this date with somebody that you weren't vibing with. Like, we haven't even seen these two communicate prior or leading up to him picking this on the date. Maybe he was just trying to behave, maybe trying to be a good boy, but we really know. We've seen him dancing, we've seen him doing his thing. He doesn't want to behave. He's ready to, party, ready to mingle, ready to throw down. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand what his game plan here was. It wasn't a good game plan. It was a bad game plan, if we're being 1,000% honest. And to be honest with you guys, that was a cap on this week's episode of Temptation Island Season 2. I do think that it was a little less steamier than I thought it would be, I guess, for being the second episode. You know what I mean? I was a little bit surprised. We are getting a little bit of action, I guess you can say, quote unquote, a little bit of action. But honestly, like, it was just kind of run-of-the-mill episode. You know what I mean? Like, there's some drama stirring up. The couples are starting to heat up, but I'm ready for us to get a little bit of drama, maybe a little bit of temptation light going off. I'm ready for it to happen. You know what I mean? Patience, right? Patience is key. All right, folks, what did you think of Temptation Island Season 5, Episode 2? Drop me some comments, whether you're watching this on YouTube, whether you hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok at RickyVlair _. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're watching on any platform, YouTube, please subscribe, please leave comments, like this post if you like this, the whole deal. Like, comment, subscribe, marry me, whatever you want to do, just please make it happen. I appreciate the support. You guys watching this and listening to this each and every week has been really awesome. I love reality television, so it's been great starting this podcast. But guys, so excited. Next week we are back talking more Temptation Island. I'm hoping to spice up things up with a little bit of different things throughout this season. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Love and Reality Podcast. I'll talk to you guys next week.